So on the pronoun front, I had something that I wanted to talk to you about. Are you familiar with there's a professor from Canada. His name's Jordan Peterson. Have you ever heard of him?
I have, actually.
Okay. So he's well known, and I guess I would even say infamous, kind of within the LGBTQ community, because he has really planted a flag in the ground in terms of I'm going to read a quote from him, but basically he's been like, fuck your pronouns, I'll call you whatever I want. And I'm curious what your thoughts on it are specifically. I'm going to read this quote to you, and I just want your like initial reaction to it.
For sure.
I
I probably already heard the quote too.
So this is Jordan Peterson. I don't recognize another person's right to determine what pronouns I use to address them. I think they're connected to an underground apparatus of radical left political motivations. I think uttering those words make me a tool of those motivations. And I'm going to try and be a tool of my own motivations as clearly as I can to articulate them and not be the mouthpiece of some murderous ideology.
Ooh, a lot to unpack there, but I'm going to break it down really simply so anybody listening at home that might agree with that, they have an understanding of why it's wrong, not just from a LGBTQ civil rights aspect, but an actual like intelligence aspect.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, what is grammar? Grammar is language, or, you know, a bunch of sounds that we use to communicate with one another, to share ideas and to express. Correct? So there are some countries in this world that do not have third pronouns because it never developed in the language. The English language is incredibly lucky to have numerous upon numerous options for pronouns.
Russia is one of those countries that you're talking
about.
about.
Yes, and also Mexico. Mexico only has he and her pronouns, which, side note, it's kind of interesting because if you are a gay man in Mexico, you're more likely to use female pronouns when speaking to signify that you're gay. Just a little tidbit out there.
Yeah, super interesting. Yeah.
So, but look, if you're going to sit there and go, I'm not going to use your preferred pronouns because of some crazy agenda, that makes you sound crazy. You're literally foregoing language.
I just want to clarify. Language. You didn't say crazy. He said murderous.
Murder.
Guilty.
Dude, I read that. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
But I mean, come on. That's crazy. You're literally going to completely ignore language, which has taken thousands of years to progress this far. You're going to completely ignore respect, just blatant respect for a person, because that would be like me going, I am a cis man, saying I am a cis man, and him going, no, what's up, girl?
Yeah,
like,
yes, I agree with that, yes.
So that doesn't even make sense on its own. Like, if somebody identifies a specific way, it's just simple respect. Just respect the person. That's another human being. How would he feel if I just walked in and called him Zer?
So big.
Or something completely random, and I'm just refusing to respect him.
So he's a teacher at the University of Toronto, and the way that this first came up is that two things that are worth noting. One, this is a response to legislation that was passed in Canada that basically made it illegal to not respect someone's pronoun of choice.
To me personally, sounds like he has an authority issue.
I think that's a big thing that's super clear, is that he literally cannot relate at all. And that's a big problem with any democracy, is that if you don't understand that, again, it's the rising tide thing, and respect is a rising tide. You don't have to believe the same thing as someone else or live their life to be able to respect them. And to not be able to just get on board with a pronoun choice because you feel like you're some sort of fucking patriot, and you think that, I guess this idea of that there is this murderous ideology, think that you have some sort of like secret group of fuckers that are getting together like, hey man, obviously we're all just straight as fuck, and
obviously we're planning world domination with our they-thems.
Yeah. So I can appreciate the fact that there being a concern about there being legal repercussions for it, but he makes it very clear that even if there weren't legal repercussions for it, and I think in a scenario where like I am the teacher of these students, it's just, how much of a fucking asshole do you have to be to just be like, I'm going to call you what I want to call you. That's it.
Your name's not
Stop
Jeff.
Eating bacon.
It's now Paul. Like, that's the same thing. It's the same thing.
I think that's what it is. I think they just don't eat bacon.
Honestly, I feel like a lot of people, even within my own family, I have issues with the whole pronoun thing, which
sure.
I love them to pieces. They're trying and everything else. That's fantastic. But I think there's something that nobody's really touching on. I feel like people are afraid of changing up the language because it questions their comfortability.
Yeah.
And if they're uncomfortable, they want to get back to that comfortability quickly. Instead of just going, you know what? I'll just be comfortable with being respectful. That's really what it is all down to.
Yeah. But as what was previously defined as, and I don't want to get into Trump, but I feel like the idea of make America great again has always been about things used to be great a long time ago.
You know what that makes me think of? Which, by the way, I don't know if anybody else has said it about the make America great thing. That's Trump basically saying America's not great.
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Our own president is saying yes. Our country's not great, yes. And he's going to make it great.
Yeah.
That insults me as an American because, I mean, yeah, my country has a bunch of problems. What country doesn't?
Not even
but American. I'm never going to stand in front of my people as the leader of my people and say, yeah, we got a shit country, but I got it, bro. Like, what?
But in the same way that art evolves, music evolves, technology evolves, I sure as fucking hope that we can all be on the same page that society evolves.
Yeah.
And in the same way that you can look at the current phone that you're holding and then look at a fucking flip razor from 15 years ago and be like, this is much better.
They're coming back.
Societal.
I can't wait.
Societal evolution is as long within it, the construct of things that we agree upon, like what you're talking about with language. Like the idea is that we all agree to the same parameters of the language. So when we use it to each other,
yes,
we agree with what is being said.
Yes.
So with societal evolution, I just feel like that's, or it's not necessarily evolution, but just progression. It's the same thing. We all want the best possible place to live for each other, for ourselves, for our families and whatnot. Yeah. And this idea of, well, actually it was way better 40 years ago before all of that evolution occurred. So let's just get back to that and shut the fuck up.
Well, you want to know what's something that's really interesting that a lot of people don't seem to think about is the fact that us progressing by using proper pronouns and being respectful of the communities and different stuff like that, we were doing that like 3,000 years ago. Like that was already a thing. This isn't new. These pronouns, these identifiers for gender and everything else has long time been around. We actually stepped backward in refusing rights and disrespecting people and making a big deal about bathrooms and pronouns and all this other stuff. Countries all over the world are a million miles ahead of us right now. You know, like take Sweden, for example. You know, they obviously have him and her, but they also have hair, which is a combination of the two for children and people who do not want to identify as any gender or both.
Yeah.
And they added that into their own language.
Yeah.
Okay, take India, for example. They had a whole caste that was, for, you know, lack of a better term, trans individuals who were considered outcasts, but they were important members of the community.
Sure.
Take indigenous people all over the place. Two-spirited. That's a term that's being coming around hugely in the past few years.
Two-spirited?
Two-spirited. Yeah. So
like T-O-O?
Two, yes.
Two-spirited.
And so the idea behind that, which
T-W-O.
just so you have a little info.
Two-spirited.
Yeah.
Okay.
Two.
Okay.
So the idea behind two-spirited is that you are a human being born with both spirits within you, male and female.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Instead of separating the two. So basically, you know, to put it into more modern terms, a two-spirited person would be considered like a trans or a non-binary person.
Sure.
Or someone of a third gender. And they were respected members of the community. How is it that there are these terms, there's these language that we can communicate with all across the world where everyone is being acknowledged that there is more than one gender, there is more than one state of life, and yet America is one of the world powers and we can't wrap our head around just saying one simple word.
Yeah, for sure.
Just for respect.
For sure.
That is insane to me.
Yeah, we're
it is
supposed to be
insane.
unified. You know.
Totally agree.
It just don't make any sense whatsoever.
I do think that we are fortunate to all be alive during a time where we're probably going to see at least certainly within our lifetime and our children or whatever, the most growth and progress in maybe all of civilization in terms of America. And so in 300 years, we are seeing the most progress. And there's fucking people are fighting against it. People fucking hate it. People get threatened by it. And a lot of time,
it's about comfortability.
I do think it's a lot of time it's people who are fighting against their own inner feelings or identification or mess, and they're suppressing it so much because of religion or anything like that. And I think this is a really important time that we live in, and I think art and music is a big way that we can transcend a lot of those barriers.
Which is also what I want to do with Wavy Baby Records. I want to bring on not just, you know, the stereotypical type artists. I want to reach out to the different communities that are all over and say, hey, I want to hear you. We want to hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, let's hear. What do you got?